Dad was one that if you wanted something, you either had to make it yourself or make something to sell something so you could buy something. There was no freebies. And I think people need to stand back these days and, as I call it, take time to smell the roses. Because if you don't, everyone's so pushed for time and they're so busy, they forget about living life themselves.
Hey guys, welcome back again. In this episode, I was so honored to be joined by a master craftsman in leather plaits, Bill Webb. From leather whips to leather belts, and well, we're just gonna have to stick around to hear more about the great work he does, and possibly how you could get involved in some of the workshops that he holds around Australia. And so, without further ado, you know the drill. Let's get to it. Hey guys, welcome back to another brand new episode. I'm back here in Gin, but also I'm honored to be joined by a master of his craft, which we'll get to learn more about, Bill Webb. But before we kind of dive into his story and learn more about his own craft, the round table symbolizes a safe space where stories are shared, voices heard, and lessons learnt. So pull up a seat and join me on the journey, because every story shared here matters. Bill, welcome to the round table, mate.
Thanks, Taz. I'm pleased to be here.
And I'm honoured for you to actually take the time. I know you were doing some work on what you're doing. So before we kind of dive into that side of things, can you just share a little bit about yourself and your background?
Where do I start? I was born and raised on a reasonably large cattle property north of Chinchilla about 70 years ago. And I spent a lot of my life there, and I also, because it was a remote place, I ended up going to boarding school at the age of 7, and I had 11 years of boarding school, which was an education in itself without the education. And when I was there, somehow or other, my mother had got me to trying to do some leather work when I was a youngster to keep me inside the garden precinct, because I used to take off out in the paddock and try and find Dad mustering or whatever. And it was some leather work. And when I went to school, I was lucky enough that I had a master there who was a bit interested and could show me little bits. And that encouraged me to try more and more and more. And the other thing about it was you had to have some sort of hobby to keep going. And I found that a lot of my mates or co-students seemed to have wealthy parents and lots of money, and I was a bit short. So I started making belts out of red hide and what they call the secret plait, the endless plait. And I progressed from there to where I now plait fine kangaroo.
Just before we continue on, can we just circle back to when you said your mum kind of helped you to learn something with leather, to get involved with leather? How did she actually get involved with it?
She was never really involved with it. Because we're on a cattle place and we used to do a lot of horse work, we always wanted a new bridle or a new set of reins or something. And Dad was one that if you wanted something, you either had to make it yourself or make something to sell something so you could buy something. There was no freebies. So you had to work for yourself. And she thought, well, he's interested in he wants to make his own stuff, so they gave me some books. And that's where it started. Mum probably couldn't plait 3 strands and keep them straight. Maybe on a good day she could, but it was her trying to encourage me to do something outside the square.
And that's kind of what led you to continue doing what you do. What have been some of the benefits that you've seen throughout this trade with learning how to do plaits with leather, is it? Yeah.
The leather plaiting.
Leather.
I'm a specialist leather plaiter. I do very little solid leather. But with I was fortunate in many ways, because when I was at school and they'd given me books to try and teach me something out of a book, which was difficult. And at one stage, I was given R.M. Williams' Bush Handcrafts book, and something in there I couldn't understand. So I actually as a cheeky kid, I wrote to him when I was about 9 or 10, and he was managing director of R.M. Williams South Australia at that stage, and he actually wrote back to me, which, when I look back on it, it didn't mean a lot then, but it does now, that he took the time out to write back to a 9 or 10-year-old and explain as best he could and say, if you're ever in trouble, just holler and I'm here to help. So, and as it turned out, he moved from South Australia up to a place called Rocky Bar up near Idesville, which is about 70 or 80 k's further up the road from where I lived. And through connections, I got to spend time with him. That was my treat time, so to speak, for being a good boy, I suppose. And I spent time with him there initially, and then I kept in touch with him throughout my life. And he was always interested to see what I was doing, and it was his wish that this leather trade be kept going, the art of plaiting be kept going. And it came when he moved back to Toowoomba. I used to call in and see him every once in a while, and I was lucky enough, I forget what year it was, to win one of the major plaiting comps in Australia. And I took this piece to show him, and he looked at it and turned it over, and he looked at it and he said, "Boy," he said, "I think you better come and teach for me." So that started a journey of teaching for me, because it was his it's his wish to learn, that people learn to make unique things that last, keep rare arts and trades alive. That's a summary. And he helped me a lot, in so much as he introduced me to a lot of people who could show me different ways or different methods. And the way I do things now is a combination of all of those, and I'm still learning. So you have to appreciate that it's a lifetime of work, and you never stop learning. Different people teach you different things, but I'm trying to follow his footsteps and keep this trade alive, because it's uniquely Australian, and we want to keep it alive. So I do a lot of teaching now. I travel extensively from central Queensland to southern Australia and further out. Next week I'm heading out to Burke, Western New South Wales. I've got classes to run out there. So people are interested, but it doesn't happen overnight. It takes time. I mean, I've been at it people say I make it look really easy, but yeah, I've been doing it for 50 odd years. So if I can't do it now, I'll never do it.
Just for the listeners and the viewers that may not know who R.M. Williams is, can you kind of just give us a brief background of who he is?
He's an Australian icon, bushman. He left home at 14, I think, and went droving with horses in South Australia, and then he went hard rock mining in the Flinders Ranges. He was a real old bushman, and he couldn't buy what he wanted, so he started off. Someone showed him how to make a pair of boots, so he started making boots, and that it progressed on. And the R.M. Williams brand is synonymous with Bush Australia. It's now these days it's more of a fashion statement than a bush brand, because there's not enough people in the bush to buy all the goods.
Is there anything for the future that you'd like or hope can be improved upon?
I want younger people to have the chance to learn to make something themselves and be proud of what they make, because everyone today, I think people are starting to look at life and realise that we can't just throw everything away. We've got to make something that lasts. And good leather goods will last you 15, 20, 30 years, maybe more, if you look after them. Whereas you go to Bunnings or wherever you might go, and you buy something and you take it home and it lasts 3 days and you throw it away. And it's a way to stimulate your mind, I think. Gives you coordination. I get a lot of satisfaction out of making something, and look at it, and then when I've made it and I send it to the customer and he comes back and says, "That's wonderful, that's beautiful." I get a real buzz out of that.
So what keeps you inspired to keep doing what you're doing?
A couple of things. I'm always trying to make the next one better than the last one, and I've got this dream that I want to make X, Y, and Z, and the longer you go and the finer it gets, the bigger the challenge. And I mean, it's not just actually plaiting and putting it together; it's cutting out the leather. If you're cutting lace, it's 1.5 mil wide and 0.4 or 0.5 a mil thick. There's no slip ups allowed. You've got to, because you're cutting a length of lace that's probably 3.5 meters long. That's a challenge, and I'm always trying to make it better, see if I can go finer. And I love the end result when you make something and people look at it and go, wow.
Yeah, and I actually got to see some of that great craftsmanship you've done with some of the belts and the bangles. Looks really amazing. But for someone who's, say, wanting to learn something like this, how can they kind of get involved with what you do and learn more about it?
Oh, anyone can contact me anytime, anywhere, and I'll talk to them happily and explain what I can. You need to, if you really want to learn something, you can get a certain amount from YouTube or wherever you like, but you never get the finer detail that shows you the little twists and turns that you've got to make an article what I call respectable. So you need to go and have some teaching from someone, not necessarily me, but get someone to show you the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps that you need to do. And preferably if you go to one person, you then go to another person and another person, and you get different ideas from everyone, and you blend all their ideas into something that suits yourself. If you look at what I do, the way I cut out a whip today, for argument's sake, is totally different to the way I cut it out 25 years ago. I've listened to different people, different makers, and watched what they do, and I like that idea, but I don't like that idea, so I pinch that one and throw that one away. And it's a case of evolution, what suits you, your personal needs best, and what works best for you.
What's been some of the biggest challenges that you've had to go through this journey in?
That's a tough one. I think getting started teaching was a big hurdle. I mean, I was lucky in so much as with R.M. Williams. He used to run R.M. Williams plaiting schools at Hodsonvale and Toowoomba, and because he invited me there to help him teach, along with 4 or 5 other tutors. That sort of got me on the way to moving forward, and listening to the other tutors, what they do. They were more experienced than I, but you learn from them, and that gave me a leg up into teaching. It'd be very hard to just go out and start teaching if you're not known. You've got to be, no offence to us, but if you put up an ad tomorrow and said, I'm going to teach you how to make a 16-plait whip, and then people will say, who's he? Whereas if I do that, they'll say, oh, I've heard of him, possibly. And
those are kind of some of the challenges, the early stages of when you were trying to get into teaching.
And then when you're teaching, you've got to, when I first started, I expected everyone to do, it was like Mickey Mouse work. And then it suddenly dawned on me that, hey, I've been at this for quite a while and I still make mistakes. So you don't expect someone who's starting out to not make mistakes. And you've got to keep it simple for them. You've got to learn to crawl before you can walk, and walk before you can run. So you need to start off with the basics like 3-plait, 5-plait, something like that. And you build up to 16s, 20s, 25s, whatever you plait.
So with the workshops, how long does a workshop run for someone that wants to, like, a 10-day workshop?
Normally run 3 days, because the reason I run 3 days, you can push it through in 2 if you're really stretched, but it's too rushed. So 3 days, I go right from the start with explaining about the skins and how to select them, what to look for, what sort of skins, the difference between red kangaroos and grey kangaroos, and the different tools you use. And then I show you how to cut out, whether it be lace for a belt or strands for a whip, and then it's your turn. I give you a whole hide, and away you go. And I'm there patrolling around. Anyone's got problems, I stop and help and get you going. So you actually come out at the other end with after 3 days, you should come out with a belt and a hat band or an 8-plat stock with a half-plat handle. And people go, I really made that. And that's great. I get a buzz out of that because I can cut out all the kits for them and they put them together. But what satisfaction, they still don't know how to make a whip. They know how to plait, but they don't know how to cut it out. So you've got to go right back to basics.
Hey guys, thanks again for tuning back in. And if you found value in today's show, then please hit that like button, subscribe and share with someone you know who could possibly benefit from what you've learnt from today's show. And so, without further ado, let's get back to it.
Throughout the years of doing what you do, how's that played on your mind mentally?
Well, I love it. I absolutely love it. I mean, they say, I mean, I've been a full-time platter now for 15, 16 years, I suppose. And I enjoy every minute, and I don't work a day in my life. I mean, I love what I do, and if you love it, it's not work. It's like a holiday. Not quite, but it's fun, and it you're not stressed about anything, or you shouldn't be. Yeah, you're not worrying about how do I do this? You just let it flow. So you've got to enjoy what you do. If you don't like what you're doing, well, go and find another job.
What's been the biggest challenging plait you've ever done?
Oh, I can't think back that far. It's just the finer you get, when you're dealing with really fine strands, which is sort of my specialty, it just gets more, the degree of difficulty gets greater and greater. I mean, I'm thinking at the moment I want to plait a belt with 40 odd strands that are 1.5 mil wide.
Wow.
How long is that going to take me? I don't want to think about it.
How long would one belt take you?
Depends on the number of strands, the thickness. If you're plaiting a 15 strand belt for a 40-inch waist, it'll take me 2 hours. If I'm plaiting a 25 strand belt for the same thing, probably take me 4 or 5 hours.
What's the longest one you've done?
Oh, I had to do one the other day for a fellow that had a 60-inch girth. That was a fairly big rib cage.
That's a lot of patience there.
No, I don't know whether it's patience. It's just
Love what you do.
Yeah, you love what you're doing, and you love seeing it all come together, and keeping it symmetrical and straight, and all the rest of it. And you think, wow, that looks good. Well, that's what I think, anyway.
In one of the articles I read up on how the kangaroo leather is the toughest.
Yeah, kangaroo's the strongest leather in the world, inch for inch, pound for pound. I think I showed you earlier up in the workshop some strands there. I've got a glasses lanyard, not unlike this one. It's 8 strands. They're 1.5 mil wide, about 0.4 thick, and all plaited together. They're about 3 mil, the lanyard's about 3 mil in diameter.
Okay.
And I'll defy you to wrap it around your hands and break it.
Yeah.
It's just so strong. And with kangaroos, there's no real secrets. It is such strong leather, but you've got grey kangaroos and red kangaroos, and they're different. A grey kangaroo is a hair, and a red kangaroo is a fur, which means the follicle in the epidermis is they're a lot finer. So the more whole follicles you can cut into a strand, the stronger it is.
Oh, cool. Oh, well, for someone who didn't know that, there you go.
It's a good, what do you call it, trivia question.
Yeah. Now you know. And if you could give a young person 1 or 2 pieces of advice in wanting to learn this craft, what would it be?
Try again, and have lots of patience, and listen to not so much experts, but people that do it, and then learn to challenge yourself all the time to go up the next step. because you can all keep plaiting the same thing every day, but you never get any better. You've got to challenge yourself to go up to finer and more complicated, whether you put ridges in or buttons on them, change colours. I mean, you're only limited by your imagination as to what you can make. Just, you think, that's and if you start to make it and it doesn't look good, well, you can undo it and start again.
Look, if there's something else that you've been wanting to kind of share, now's an opportunity to share what's been on your mind of what you'd like to see in the future.
I'd just like to see more people creating, because it's a unique craft, and unfortunately not everyone can do it, because not everyone's got the fine motor skills needed. I mean, some people, they can swing a sledgehammer, but they can't slice a tomato. The fine motor skills aren't there. It's a particular trait that you've got to have. So not everyone's going to be able to do it, but even if you can't do the fine work, you can still be creative and challenge your thought process, and it gives you something to do. I mean, I teach a lot of older retired people, because they've retired from whatever they're doing and they've got nothing to do. Well, they say they've got nothing, but you try and teach them a bit of leather work, and it's although leather's expensive in itself, it's not an expensive hobby to get into, because you don't need lots and lots of specialised tools and heavy-duty equipment that cost you a lot of money. Like, potters need something. They need a kiln. They need a thrower, I think they call it, to turn everything around. Or woodworking. You need multiple saws and vices and all that sort of stuff. Whereas if you're doing plaiting, all you really need is an accurate ruler, tape, a very, very sharp knife, and I use dolly pegs, split in half as my gauges, which is a bit different from most. So it's relatively cheap to get into. And if you're in it and you're enjoying it and you want to do more, you can get some more specialised tools for cutting, and it's still not overly expensive. Your leather's the most expensive part of the hobby.
Wow. And look, what were some of the steps that you took in the early stages of your upbringing to kind of stay on track? Because maybe that could kind of help some young person out who's thinking, as you said before, start with the basics first. Before you can walk, you got to crawl.
Yeah, but you start off and you'll be doing a simple 3-plait or 5-plait or whatever it might be, and after a while that gets to be just automatic. You think, oh, okay, I'm going to step up a gear. So you go to 7 and you master that one and you step up a gear, because you're not going to, it's very rare that someone can pick up 15 strands and just start plaiting. It's too, you've got too much in your hands, there's too much leather lying around. So you need to go back to basics, but just do one step at a time. And as you get to a point you think you're getting a handle on it, you're handling it pretty well, step up the next level. Or think of another project. What can I do that's different? What would I like to make? And watch other people and see what they do. And don't be afraid to ask questions. You've got to ask questions.
Well, I suppose before we kind of wrap up, any final thoughts?
I just hope everyone gets into it. I mean, it's my hope that I can teach enough people that the trade will continue on. I mean, it's not rocket science. It's nothing new. It's getting people to actually participate, because years ago everyone used to make something. They used to, whether it be good, bad or indifferent, they always plaited belts or made pocket knife pouches or whatever they did. But going back, a number of years, they didn't have iPads, they didn't have phones, they didn't have communication, and they had time. I've got a whip up there in the house, was made by a fellow, I think in 1902-03.
Whoa.
He shot the roo, he tanned the skin, made the whip, and it's still in one piece, which is remarkable. But he had nothing else to do. I mean, he had a job, but that was his way of entertaining himself, so to speak, in the evenings or wet days or weekends off, whatever he had, I don't know, because he's not here to talk to. But today people are pressed for time. They don't have that time. They've got to get on their iPhone, or they've got to get on their pad, you know. And I think people need to stand back these days and, as I call it, take time to smell the roses. Because if you don't, everyone's so pushed for time and they're so busy, they forget about living life themselves. So you need to stand back, take a deep breath and smell the roses. It just takes the stress out of you.
If people want to contact you, how can they find you and where?
You'll find me on Facebook, or you'll find me Instagram. I'm a public figure. If you Google me, you'll probably find me.
Cool. Well, I'll also add those links too of your Facebook and Instagram in our description below, where people get to watch this.
Yeah, or they can phone me.
Yeah.
Give me a phone call, and I'm happy. If I don't answer, leave me a message, and I'll get back to you. But I'm quite happy to talk to people. Because I talk faster than I type, it's probably better to talk to me.
Yeah, that's what I reckon too, mate. Well, look, Bill, mate, thanks for joining me today to share insights about your world, a craft that is really, really needed for people to learn more about and understand that this could pass on if we don't keep it alive through workshops that you've started up for communities to learn about the craft. So again, Bill, thanks, mate, for joining me at the round table.
Thank you. Enjoy.